My wife just told me I'm too ugly for Instagram. Not in those exact words, of course. Marin's far too sophisticated for such blunt cruelty. What she actually said, while applying her third layer of foundation this morning, was, "You're so unphotogenic I can't even post us online. Look at my boss instead." She held up her phone, showing me her latest story. There was Bradley Sloan, her CEO, grinning at some tech conference with his perfect jawline and expensive suit. The caption read, "Working with the best," followed by 3 fire emojis. I'm Xavier Hart, 37 years old, and I analyze data for a living. Numbers don't lie, and neither does social media engagement. Marin's posts featuring Brad get triple the likes of anything else on her feed. The comments are always the same. "Your boss is hot," and "lucky girl working with that view." "Maybe I should start working out again," I said, trying to keep things light. Marin didn't even look up from her phone. "It's not about working out, Xavier. Some people are just naturally photogenic. Brad has this presence, this energy that translates through the camera." I've been married to Marin for 5 years. She's a social media manager at Sloan Digital, a boutique marketing firm that handles influencer campaigns for tech startups. When we met, she was just starting out, posting amateur food photos and sunset shots. Now she has 47,000 followers and gets paid to attend brand events. The transformation happened gradually. First, it was just better lighting and angles. Then came the ring light, the tripod, the editing apps. Our apartment became a studio, every corner optimized for content creation. Our conversation shifted from weekend plans to posting schedules. "I'm having dinner with Brad tonight," she announced, finally putting down her phone. "Another client meeting. This one's huge, a crypto startup looking to rebrand after some regulatory issues." "On a Friday night?" "That's when he's available. You know how busy his schedule is." I did know. Brad Sloan was everywhere on Marin's social media. Brad at conferences, Brad at networking events. Brad's perfectly manicured hands holding expensive cocktails in dimly lit restaurants. His Rolex Submariner had appeared in more of my wife's stories than my face had in the past 6 months. "Should I wait up?" I asked. "Don't bother. These things run late, and I'll probably be exhausted." After she left, I sat in our living room, surrounded by her ring lights and camera equipment. Our wedding photo sat on the mantel, but it was turned slightly away, as if even our past selves were too unphotogenic for the current aesthetic. I opened my laptop to catch up on some work reports, but Marin's Instagram was already logged in on the browser. Her story showed her getting ready, the perfect winged eyeliner, the designer dress I'd bought her for our anniversary, the caption, "Client dinner vibes." Within an hour, she'd posted another story, a perfectly plated salmon dish at Canlis, Seattle's most expensive restaurant. The table setting included 2 wine glasses, but the camera angle carefully excluded her dining companion. The comments started immediately. "Date night? Who's the lucky guy?" "Spill the tea, girl." Marin responded to a few with winking emojis and "just business." But the damage was done. Her followers were invested in the mystery. I closed the laptop and tried to focus on a book, but my phone kept buzzing with notifications. Marin was posting constantly, the wine selection, the dessert course, a mirror selfie in the restaurant bathroom showing her dress from behind, each post carefully crafted to suggest romance while maintaining plausible deniability. She came home at 2 in the morning, reeking of expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. "How was dinner?" I asked from the couch. "Productive. We landed the account." She kicked off her heels and headed straight for the bedroom without looking at me. "I'm exhausted. We can talk tomorrow." But we didn't talk tomorrow, or the day after. Marin was busy editing content, scheduling posts, and responding to the hundreds of comments speculating about her love life. Her follower count jumped to 52,000 over the weekend. Monday morning brought a new development. Marin posted a photo of her morning coffee, but this time there was a detail that made my stomach drop. A man's watch visible at the edge of the frame. The same Rolex Submariner that had been appearing in her stories for months. The comments exploded. "Is that a man's watch? Girl, you're not fooling anyone. We see you, queen. When's the face reveal?" Marin played coy in her responses. "A lady never tells," and "some things are worth keeping private, for now." I confronted her that evening. "People think you're dating someone." "Let them think what they want. Mystery drives engagement." "But you're married, Marin. To me." She finally looked up from her phone, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Genuine annoyance at my existence. "Xavier, this is my career, my brand. I've worked too hard building this following to let anyone drag down my aesthetic." "Anyone? You know what I mean?" But I was starting to understand exactly what she meant. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through her recent posts. In the last 3 months, I appeared in exactly 0 photos, not even my hand holding a coffee cup or my shadow in a mirror selfie. I had been completely erased from her digital life. That night, while Maren slept, I did what any data analyst would do. I gathered information. Her laptop was synced to the same cloud storage as mine, a security measure we'd set up years ago in case either of us lost our devices. What I found in her backup files made me freeze. Hidden in a folder labeled Work Projects were dozens of photos I'd never seen. Maren and Brad at a beach resort in Tulum, his arm around her waist, Maren in a bikini, Brad shirtless, both of them grinning at the camera like teenagers in love. The timestamp showed they were taken 3 weeks ago, during what Maren had told me was a solo wellness retreat. There were more photos, intimate shots of them in what was clearly a hotel room, Brad's hands on her body, Maren's face showing an expression of pure joy I hadn't seen directed at me in years. Screenshots of text conversations filled with heart emojis and explicit promises. Voice memos of Maren laughing at Brad's jokes, her voice lighter and happier than it ever sounded at home. The final folder contained something that made my hands shake, a document titled Exit Strategy. It was a detailed plan for leaving me, complete with legal research about divorce proceedings, asset division, and alimony calculations. She'd even consulted with a lawyer, scheduling the meeting for next week. I sat in the dark, staring at the evidence of my wife's betrayal, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not heartbreak. That would come later. This was something sharper, more focused. This was the moment I realized that if Maren wanted to play games with social media and public perception, she'd pick the wrong opponent. I was a data analyst. I understood algorithms, engagement metrics, and viral content better than most. More importantly, I understood my wife's greatest weakness, her desperate need for validation from strangers on the internet. If she wanted to be a social media sensation, I was about to make her dreams come true. The next morning, Maren was up early, preparing for another work meeting with Brad. She spent an hour perfecting her makeup, choosing between 3 different outfits, and setting up the perfect lighting for her getting ready content. "Big presentation today," she announced, not looking at me. "Brad wants me to handle the pitch personally." "Sounds important," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. She posted a mirror selfie with the caption, "When your boss believes in your vision." The comments immediately flooded in with fire emojis and speculation about her mysterious work husband. After she left, I got to work. The first step was understanding exactly how deep this betrayal went. I spent the morning combing through every digital trace, building a timeline of their affair. It had started 6 months ago, right after Brad hired Maren for a promotion she'd never mentioned to me. The salary bump explained her recent shopping sprees and the expensive dinners I'd assumed were business expenses. Their relationship had evolved from professional to personal with stunning speed. Private messages showed Brad complimenting her appearance, then suggesting working dinners, then outright flirtation. Maren had responded eagerly, sending him photos of her outfits and asking for his approval on everything from her hairstyle to her nail color. The Tulum trip was the turning point. Brad had paid for everything, the resort, the flights, even her new bikini collection. The photos they'd taken were meant to be private, but Maren being Maren, she couldn't resist the perfect content opportunity. She'd just been careful about what she shared publicly, but she hadn't been careful enough. I spent my lunch break creating fake social media accounts. Not to catfish or harass, but to study her audience. Maren's followers were predominantly women aged 25 to 40, successful professionals who lived vicariously through her glamorous lifestyle. They craved authenticity, drama, and most importantly, they hated being lied to. The afternoon brought a new development. Maren posted a story from Brad's office showing his nameplate on the desk with the caption, "Boss Meetings." But she'd made a crucial error. The reflection in the nameplate's surface showed Brad's hand on her thigh. I screenshot the image and ran it through photo enhancement software, isolating the reflection and increasing the contrast. The result was crystal clear. Brad's wedding ring glinting as his fingers traced patterns on my wife's leg. That evening, Maren came home glowing with excitement. "We got the crypto account," she announced. "Brad says my presentation was flawless. We're celebrating tomorrow night at that new rooftop place downtown." "Congratulations," I said. "You must be proud." "I am. Finally, someone recognizes my talent." The implication stung, but I kept my expression neutral. "Will other colleagues be joining you?" "Just Brad and me. We work best as a team." She spent the evening editing content from their business meeting, carefully cropping and filtering each image to maximize impact while maintaining the facade of professionalism. Her stories showed glimpses of Brad's office, his coffee cup next to hers, his handwriting on strategy documents. Each post was designed to fuel speculation without crossing the line into obvious infidelity. but I had crossed that line months ago, and I had the receipts to prove it. The next day, while Maren was at her celebration dinner, I made my move. I had her Instagram login information from the shared password manager we'd set up years ago. She'd never changed it, probably forgetting I had access. I logged into her account and navigated to her drafts folder. There, I found the post she'd been crafting for Maximum Impact, a photo of her and Brad at the rooftop restaurant, his face carefully cropped out but his expensive suit jacket visible. The caption read, "Some partnerships are worth celebrating." I deleted her draft and uploaded something better. The photo I chose was from their Tulum collection, Maren in her white bikini, Brad's arm clearly visible around her waist, both of them grinning at the camera in obvious romantic bliss. But the real masterpiece was the caption I wrote. "Grateful for the man who pays for the lifestyle my husband provides. Some partnerships go deeper than business." Authentic. Grateful, living my best life. I scheduled the post to go live in exactly 1 hour, giving them time to get comfortable at dinner before their world exploded. Then I waited. The post went live at 8:30 p.m., right during peak engagement hours. The response was immediate and devastating. Within minutes, the comments section became a battlefield. "Wait, is this your boss? Girl, are you cheating on your husband? This is messy as hell. Someone's about to get divorced. The audacity to post this publicly." The likes poured in, but not the kind Maren usually received. These were hate likes, rubbernecking likes, people sharing the drama with their friends. Her follower count actually increased as word spread, but the new followers were there for the wrong reasons. My phone started buzzing with notifications. People were tagging me in the comments, asking if I knew about the post. Friends were sending me screenshots with messages like, "Dude, have you seen this?" At 9:15, my phone rang. Maren's name flashed on the screen. "What the hell did you do?" she screamed before I could even say hello. "I have no idea what you're talking about," I replied calmly. "My Instagram. Someone hacked my account and posted that photo." "What photo?" "You know damn well what photo. Delete it right now." "I don't have access to your account, Maren. Maybe you should call Instagram support." I could hear Brad's voice in the background, urgent and panicked. Other diners were probably staring, phones out, recording the drama unfolding at their table. "This is going to ruin everything," Maren sobbed. "My career, my reputation, everything I've worked for." "I'm sorry this is happening," I said, and I almost meant it. "Maybe you should come home so we can figure this out together." The line went silent. I returned to her Instagram page and watched the chaos unfold in real time. The post had been shared to dozens of gossip accounts and Reddit threads. Someone had already identified Brad from his company's website, and his wife Julia's Instagram was flooded with people sending her screenshots. The comments kept coming. "This is why I have trust issues. Imagine being this shameless. Her poor husband. Brad's wife needs to see this. Screenshot before she deletes it." But the most damaging comments came from people who knew them personally. Colleagues from Maren's company, clients she'd worked with, even some of our mutual friends were expressing shock and disappointment. Her professional reputation was crumbling in real time. At 10:30, Maren burst through our front door, her face streaked with tears and mascara. "How could you do this to me?" she demanded. "Do what? I've been here all evening watching Netflix." "Don't lie to me. You're the only one who could have accessed my account." I looked at her with what I hoped was convincing confusion. "Maren, I barely understand Instagram. Remember? I'm too unphotogenic for social media." She stared at me for a long moment, searching my face for signs of deception. But I'd had months to prepare for this moment, and my expression gave nothing away. "Someone is going to pay for this," she whispered. "Maybe," I agreed. "But first, don't you think we should talk about the photo itself? Because that's definitely you and your boss in what looks like a very romantic situation." Her face went white. "It's not what it looks like." "Really? Because it looks like you've been having an affair with Brad while planning to divorce me and take half of everything I've worked for." The silence stretched between us, heavy with years of lies and resentment. Finally, Maren straightened her shoulders and lifted her chin. "Fine. Yes, I'm seeing Brad. Yes, I was planning to leave you, but not like this. This is going to destroy both of our careers." "Your careers," I corrected. "I'm just a data analyst, remember? Too boring and unphotogenic to matter." She opened her mouth to respond, but her phone buzzed with another notification, then another. The digital avalanche was just beginning, and there was no stopping it now. By morning, Maren's Instagram post had been screenshot, shared, and memed across every major social media platform. The hashtag #AuthenticMaren was trending on Twitter, filled with sarcastic comments about her grateful caption and speculation about the timeline of her affair. Maren hadn't slept. She'd spent the entire night trying to control the damage, deleting the post, blocking commenters, even temporarily deactivating her account. But the internet is forever, and the screenshots had already spread too far to contain. Sloan Digital is conducting an internal review, she announced, staring at her laptop screen with hollow eyes. They've suspended me pending investigation. I looked up from my coffee. That seems extreme. Brad's wife filed for divorce this morning. She's claiming the affair as grounds and demanding half of everything, including his stake in the company. Maren's voice was barely above a whisper. The board called an emergency meeting. I'm sorry, I said, and part of me actually was. I'd wanted to hurt her, but I hadn't fully considered the collateral damage. No, you're not. She finally looked at me, her eyes red-rimmed but sharp with anger. You planned this. I don't know how, but you orchestrated everything. That's paranoid, even for you. Is it? You're a data analyst, Xavier. You understand algorithms and viral content better than most people. You knew exactly what would happen when that photo went public. She wasn't wrong, but I kept my expression neutral. Maybe you should focus on damage control instead of conspiracy theories. Maren's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and her face went pale. It's my mother. She declined the call, but it immediately rang again. Then her sister called, then her best friend from college. The news had spread beyond social media into her real-world relationships. I can't face them, she whispered. How do I explain this? You could start with the truth. The truth? She laughed bitterly. The truth is that I fell in love with someone who saw my potential, who believed in my career, who made me feel beautiful and important. The truth is that I was planning to leave you anyway, but I wanted to do it right. By having an affair and planning to take half my assets. By building my own life first. Brad was going to leave Julia and we were going to start fresh together. But now... She gestured helplessly at her phone, which was still buzzing with notifications. Now he's probably trying to save his own skin, I finished. As if on cue, her phone lit up with a text message. From the way her face crumpled, I could guess it wasn't good news. He says we need to take a break until things cool down, she read aloud. He can't risk any more damage to the company or his divorce proceedings. So he's abandoning you. He's being practical. But her voice lacked conviction. Over the next few days, I watched Maren's carefully constructed life unravel thread by thread. Her suspension from Sloan Digital became a termination when the company decided she was too much of a liability. 3 major brands dropped her from upcoming campaigns, citing brand safety concerns. Her Instagram follower count plummeted as people unfollowed in droves. The gossip blogs picked up the story, dubbing her Seattle's most shameless side chick, and analyzing her social media posts for clues about the affair's timeline. Someone even created a TikTok compilation of all her posts featuring Brad's hands, watch, or other identifying details set to dramatic music. But the real damage came from her professional network. Marketing is a small industry, and reputation is everything. Word spread quickly that Maren Hart was the social media manager who'd posted her own affair for the world to see. Whether she'd done it intentionally or been hacked didn't matter. The lack of judgment and professionalism was career-ending. I can't get an interview anywhere, she told me one evening, slumped on our couch surrounded by tissues and empty wine bottles. Everyone's seen the post. They think I'm either completely unprofessional or completely stupid. Maybe you could try a different industry, I suggested. With what skills? Social media is all I know, and I'm toxic now. No company wants to associate with me. I felt a flicker of sympathy, but then I remembered the exit strategy document and her plans to take half of everything I'd worked for while she built her new life with Brad. What about Brad? I asked. Isn't he helping you through this? Her laugh was hollow. Brad won't even take my calls. His lawyer told him to cut all contact until his divorce is finalized. Apparently, Julia's attorney is using our relationship to claim adultery and go after his assets. So he's protecting himself while you deal with the fallout alone. He's being smart. One of us has to think strategically. But I could see the doubt creeping in. The man she'd thought was her soulmate and business partner had disappeared the moment things got difficult, leaving her to face the consequences alone. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Jonah. Dude, saw the news about Maren. You okay? I'd been dreading this conversation. Jonah worked in tech marketing and had probably heard the gossip through professional channels. It's complicated, I texted back. Want to grab a beer and talk about it? I looked at Maren, who was scrolling through job listings with increasing desperation, and made a decision. Sure, meet you at Murphy's in an hour. Murphy's Pub was our usual spot, a dimly lit Irish bar near Pike Place Market that attracted an older crowd of professionals unwinding after work. Jonah was already there when I arrived, nursing a Guinness and looking uncomfortable. "So," he said as I sat down, "this is awkward as hell. Tell me about it. I mean, everyone's talking about it. The Post, the affair, the whole mess. Marketing people love drama, and this is like a perfect storm of career suicide and social media stupidity." I ordered a whiskey and tried to look like a devastated husband instead of the architect of my wife's downfall. "How long did you know?" Jonah asked. I suspected something was off, but I didn't have proof until the post went viral. Jesus, what a way to find out, in front of 50,000 followers. 63,000, I corrected. Her follower count actually went up during the drama. Jonah gave me a sharp look. "You've been monitoring her social media pretty closely. Wouldn't you?" "I guess. It's just, you seem pretty calm for a guy whose wife just publicly humiliated him with her boss." I took a sip of whiskey and chose my words carefully. "I'm processing it. Some days I'm angry, some days I'm hurt. Today I'm just tired." "Are you going to divorce her?" "Probably. I don't see how we come back from this." "What about her? Is she fighting for the marriage?" I thought about Maren at home, desperately applying for jobs she'd never get while her former lover ignored her calls. "She's got bigger problems right now than saving our marriage." We drank in silence for a while, watching the evening news on the bar's television. Then Jonah said something that made me freeze. "You know, there's something weird about the whole thing." "What do you mean?" "The Post. The caption was so perfectly crafted to cause maximum damage. The man who pays for the lifestyle my husband provides? That's not how Maren usually writes. Her captions are always more, I don't know, influencer speak. Lots of emojis and hashtags about living her best life." I kept my expression neutral, but my heart was racing. Maybe she was drunk when she posted it. Maybe, or maybe someone else wrote it. "Like who?" Jonah shrugged. "I don't know. But if I were investigating this professionally, I'd look at who had the most to gain from destroying her reputation and who had the technical skills to pull it off." "You think someone hacked her account?" "I think someone who understood social media algorithms and viral content could have crafted that post to cause exactly the kind of damage it caused." He was looking at me intently now, and I realized I'd underestimated my friend's intelligence. "That's an interesting theory," I said carefully. "It is, isn't it? Especially since you work in data analysis and probably understand engagement metrics better than most people." The accusation hung in the air between us. I could deny it, but Jonah was clearly suspicious. I could come clean and risk him exposing me, or I could try a different approach. "Hypothetically," I said, "if someone did orchestrate this, would you blame them?" "For destroying their cheating wife's career? Honestly, I'd probably buy them a drink." I raised my whiskey glass. "Hypothetically speaking," Jonah clinked his glass against mine. "Hypothetically speaking, that would be the most brilliant revenge plot I've ever seen." We finished our drinks without discussing it further, but I knew I'd gained an ally. More importantly, I'd learned that people weren't just sympathetic to my situation. They were impressed by the precision of Maren's downfall. When I got home, Maren was passed out on the couch, her laptop still open to a job search website. Her phone was face down on the coffee table, finally silent after days of constant notifications. I looked at my wife, really looked at her, for the first time in months. Without her perfect makeup and strategic lighting, she looked younger and more vulnerable. For a moment, I almost regretted what I'd done. Then I remembered the exit strategy document and the photos of her laughing in Brad's arms while planning to leave me with nothing. My revenge was just getting started. 3 weeks after the Instagram incident, Maren was still unemployed and spiraling deeper into depression. She'd applied to dozens of positions, but her name was poison in the marketing world. The few interviews she'd managed to secure ended abruptly once her potential employers Googled her background. "I might have to move back in with my parents," she announced one morning, staring at her laptop screen. "At least until I can figure out what to do next." "That seems extreme," I replied, though privately I thought it was an excellent idea. "Is it? I can't afford rent on my own, and I can't keep living here knowing what I've done to you." It was the first time she'd acknowledged the impact of her affair on me personally, rather than just complaining about the professional consequences. "What about Brad?" I asked. "Isn't he helping financially?" Her laugh was bitter. "Brad's been completely cut off by his wife's lawyers. All his assets are frozen pending the divorce proceedings. He can barely afford his own apartment right now." "So he's not the successful businessman you thought he was?" "He's successful, but Julia's going for everything. She's claiming the affair started before they separated, so she's entitled to half of his company shares, the house, everything." I felt a surge of satisfaction. Brad's life was imploding just as thoroughly as Marin's, which was exactly what I'd hoped for. Have you talked to him recently? He called yesterday. He's different now, desperate. He actually suggested we could work things out once his divorce is finalized, but I don't know if I believe him anymore. What changed your mind? Marin was quiet for a long moment. When everything fell apart, I expected him to fight for us. Instead, he immediately went into self-preservation mode. He threw me under the bus to protect himself. And you're just realizing this now? I'm realizing a lot of things now. She closed her laptop and looked at me directly. I'm realizing that I was so caught up in the excitement of being wanted by someone successful and attractive that I forgot to consider whether he actually cared about me as a person. It was the most self-aware thing she'd said in months. What about us? I asked. Do you want to try to work things out? She shook her head. I don't think we can come back from this. Too much has happened, and I know you'll never trust me again. But I want you to know that I'm sorry. Not just for getting caught, but for the whole thing. You deserved better. I almost felt guilty then. Almost. I appreciate that, I said. But you're right. I don't think we can fix this. That afternoon, while Marin was at a therapy appointment, I got a call from an unknown number. Is this Xavier Hart? The voice was female, professional. Yes. This is Julia Sloan. I think we should meet. Brad's wife. The conversation I'd been both expecting and dreading. I'm not sure that's a good idea, I said carefully. Please? I have some things I think you'd want to know about your wife and my husband, things that go deeper than what's already public. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop in Bellevue, far enough from Seattle that we were unlikely to run into anyone we knew. Julia was already there when I arrived, a petite blonde woman in her late 30s, impeccably dressed but with tired eyes. Thank you for coming, she said as I sat down. I know this is awkward. That's one word for it. I'll get straight to the point. The affair between Brad and your wife started 8 months ago, not 6 like everyone thinks. I have credit card statements, hotel receipts, and text messages going back further than the timeline they've been claiming. She slid a manila folder across the table. And I hired a private investigator when I first suspected something was wrong. He documented everything. I opened the folder and found myself looking at surveillance photos of Marin and Brad together at various locations around Seattle. Restaurants, hotels, even my own apartment building Brad had been visiting while I was at work. Why are you showing me this? Because I want to destroy them both, and I think you might want the same thing. Her honesty was refreshing after weeks of Marin's manipulation and self-pity. What did you have in mind? Brad's trying to claim the affair started after we were already separated, which would limit my claim on his assets. But I have proof it started while we were still living together as husband and wife. If I can establish the timeline, I get half of everything. And you need me to corroborate the timeline from Marin's side. Exactly. Your wife kept detailed records of their relationship on social media, even the posts she didn't publish. My investigator found drafts and deleted content that proves when things started. I thought about the evidence I'd already collected from Maraine's cloud storage. Combined with Julia's private investigator's work, we could probably reconstruct every moment of the affair. What's in it for me? Revenge, she said simply. And possibly money. If Brad loses half his assets to me, he won't be able to support your wife the way he promised. She'll be stuck with nothing while he's financially ruined. It was tempting, but I had a better idea. I might be able to help you, I said, but I want something more than just financial revenge. Such as? I want them to destroy each other publicly. I want their relationship to implode so spectacularly that neither of them ever recovers. Julia smiled for the first time since I'd met her. I think we can arrange that. We spent the next hour planning. Julia's divorce attorney was already building a case around the affair's timeline, but we could strengthen it with evidence from Marin's digital footprint. More importantly, we could use the legal proceedings to create public drama that would further damage both of their reputations. There's a deposition scheduled for next week, Julia explained. Brad will be under oath, answering questions about the affair. If he lies about the timeline or the extent of his relationship with your wife, he could face perjury charges. And if he tells the truth, then he admits to adultery and I get everything. It was a beautiful trap. Brad would have to choose between committing perjury or confirming details that would destroy his remaining credibility and assets. What do you need from me? Documentation. Every post, every photo, every digital interaction between them that you can access. My attorney will use it to establish the timeline and prove Brad's lying if he tries to minimize the relationship. I thought about Marin's cloud storage, still synced to my devices. I had everything Julia needed and more. I can get you documentation, I said. but I want to be there when it all comes out. The deposition is private, but the divorce proceedings are public record. When I file the evidence, it'll be available to anyone who requests it, including journalists, gossip bloggers, and Marin's former colleagues in the marketing industry. Perfect. We shook hands, and I felt a surge of anticipation. Marin and Brad thought their biggest problem was the Instagram post and its immediate aftermath. They had no idea that the real reckoning was just beginning. When I got home, Marin was cooking dinner, the first time she'd made an effort in weeks. "How was therapy?" I asked. "Helpful. We talked about accountability and making amends." She looked up from the stove. "I know I can't undo what I did, but I want to try to end our marriage with some dignity intact." "That's admirable. I've been thinking about what I want to do next. Maybe I could go back to school, learn a new skill set, start over somewhere fresh." "Where would you go?" "I don't know yet. Maybe Portland or San Francisco. Somewhere I could rebuild my career without the baggage." I nodded sympathetically, but I was thinking about Julia's timeline and the legal bombshell that was about to drop. Marin wouldn't be starting fresh anywhere. By the time we were finished, her name would be permanently associated with one of the messiest, most public affair scandals in Seattle's professional community. "That sounds like a good plan," I said. She smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in weeks. "Thank you for being so understanding about everything. I know I don't deserve your kindness." "We're still married," I replied, "at least for now." That night, while Marin slept, I compiled everything I had on her affair with Brad. Photos, messages, social media posts, deleted drafts, location data from her phone, everything that could establish the timeline and scope of their relationship. I encrypted it all onto a secure drive and prepared to hand it over to Julia's attorney. In a few days, it would become part of the public record in a high-profile divorce case. Every detail of Marin's affair would be documented in legal filings that journalists and gossip bloggers could access. But more importantly, Brad would be forced to testify under oath about their relationship. He could lie and face perjury charges, or he could tell the truth and confirm every humiliating detail of how he'd seduced my wife with promises he never intended to keep. Either way, their relationship wouldn't survive the scrutiny, and when it imploded, I'd be there to watch it burn. The deposition was scheduled for a Thursday morning at Julia's attorney's office in downtown Seattle. I wasn't allowed to attend, but Julia had promised to call me immediately afterward with details. Marin was nervous all week, though she didn't know why. Brad had been avoiding her calls, claiming his lawyer had advised him not to contact her during the divorce proceedings. She sensed something was coming, but couldn't identify the threat. "I have a bad feeling about this week," she told me Tuesday night. "Like something's about to go wrong." More wrong than it already has? Different wrong. Brad's been acting strange, even for him. Paranoid. He keeps talking about protecting himself and making sure his story stays consistent. Consistent with what? That's what I can't figure out. He keeps asking me about dates and timelines, like he's trying to memorize when things happened between us. I knew exactly what Brad was preparing for, but I kept my expression neutral. Maybe he's just stressed about the divorce. Maybe. But she didn't sound convinced. Thursday morning arrived gray and drizzly, typical Seattle weather that matched my mood perfectly. I went to work as usual, but I couldn't concentrate on anything. Every few minutes, I checked my phone, waiting for Julia's call. It came at 11:30 a.m. "It's done," Julia said without preamble. Brad lied under oath about everything, the timeline, the extent of the relationship, even basic facts about their trips together. He committed perjury? Multiple counts. My attorney has documentation that contradicts every major claim he made. The photos you provided were particularly damaging. They prove he and Marin were intimate months before he claimed the affair started. I felt a surge of satisfaction. What happens now? My attorney is filing a motion to hold him in contempt of court. We're also requesting an emergency hearing to address the perjury. But the best part is that all the evidence is now part of the public record. Meaning? Meaning every sordid detail of their affair is now available to anyone who requests the court files. The photos, the text messages, the hotel receipts, everything. I could already imagine the headlines. Tech CEO commits perjury to hide affair timeline, or social media manager's relationship evidence contradicts boss's testimony. When will this become public? The court filing will be processed today. Reporters usually check these records by end of business. I'd expect stories to start appearing online tonight or tomorrow morning. And Brad? Brad is about to lose everything. His credibility, his assets, possibly his freedom if the perjury charges stick. My attorney says this is one of the most clear-cut cases of contempt he's seen. After Julia hung up, I sat in my office trying to focus on work, but my mind was racing. In a few hours, the second wave of the scandal would break. This time, it wouldn't just be social media gossip, it would be legitimate news coverage of a legal proceeding involving perjury and adultery. Marin's name would be in court documents, news articles, and legal databases forever. Any future employer who Googled her wouldn't just find the Instagram drama, they'd find detailed legal testimony about her affair, complete with dates, locations, and intimate details. At 5 p.m., I left the office and drove home, expecting to find Marin in her usual post-therapy state of cautious optimism. Instead, I found her sitting on our couch, staring at her laptop screen with an expression of pure horror. "Xavier," she said without looking up, "we need to talk." "What's wrong?" "Brad's wife filed new court documents today. Everything about our relationship is in them, photos, messages, everything." She turned her laptop toward me, showing a local news website with the headline, "Sloan Digital CEO accused of perjury in divorce proceedings." Below it was a smaller headline, "Court documents detail 8-month affair with employee." "I'm so sorry," I said, trying to sound shocked. "How did they get all this information?" "Someone gave it to them. Someone with access to my private photos and messages." She looked at me with growing suspicion. "Someone like you?" "Marin, I would never—" "You're the only person who had access to my cloud storage. You're the only one who could have gotten those photos from Tulum?" I met her gaze steadily. "Are you accusing me of hacking your accounts and giving private information to Brad's wife? I'm asking if you did it." The moment of truth had arrived. I could continue lying, but what was the point? The revenge was complete, and Marin was already destroyed. There was no reason to keep pretending. "Yes," I said simply. She stared at me for a long moment, her face cycling through shock, anger, and finally a kind of grudging respect. "The Instagram post too?" "That was me." "How long have you known about the affair?" "Months. I found your exit strategy document and the photos from Tulum. I knew you were planning to leave me and take half of everything I'd worked for. So you decided to destroy my life instead. I decided to give you exactly what you wanted, to be a social media sensation. You're more famous now than you ever dreamed of being." Marin closed her laptop and leaned back against the couch cushions. "You know what the strangest part is? I'm not even angry anymore. I'm impressed." "Impressed? You played this perfectly. The Instagram post was just the opening move. You knew it would create enough chaos to distract us while you gathered more evidence. Then you waited for the perfect moment to release everything through legal channels so it would have maximum credibility and permanence." She was right. I had orchestrated every step of her downfall with the same methodical precision I brought to data analysis. "You understand that this destroys Brad, too," I pointed out. "I'm starting to think that was always part of your plan. You didn't just want to hurt me, you wanted to make sure he couldn't be there to catch me when I fell. He was never going to catch you anyway. He threw you under the bus the moment things got difficult." "I know that now, but you knew it from the beginning, didn't you? You understood his character better than I did." I nodded. "I knew he was the kind of man who would abandon you the second it became inconvenient to support you. I just had to create the right circumstances to prove it." We sat in silence for several minutes, the weight of our destroyed marriage settling between us. Finally, Marin spoke. "What happens now?" "Now you deal with the consequences of your choices. The court documents are public record, which means this story will follow you forever. Every future employer, every potential romantic partner, everyone will be able to find detailed documentation of your affair." "And you're okay with that level of destruction?" "You were okay with planning to take half of everything I'd earned while you built a new life with another man. This seems proportional." She nodded slowly. "I suppose it does." "For what it's worth," I added, "I didn't enjoy destroying you, but I couldn't let you get away with it. I understand, and honestly, I probably deserved worse than this." It was the most honest conversation we'd had in years. Marin packed her belongings that night and moved in with her parents. The divorce papers were filed the following week, with the adultery evidence making the proceedings straightforward and quick. She didn't contest anything. The prenup we'd signed combined with her public infidelity meant she had no legal standing to claim assets. Brad's situation was even worse. The perjury charges resulted in criminal prosecution, and Julia's divorce settlement left him with almost nothing. Sloan Digital's board forced him out as CEO, citing the legal issues and negative publicity as incompatible with the company's values. Within 6 months, both Marin and Brad had lost their careers, their reputations, and their relationship with each other. The stress of the legal proceedings and public humiliation destroyed whatever genuine feelings they might have had, leaving them with nothing but mutual resentment and blame. I occasionally saw updates about them through mutual acquaintances. Marin had moved to Portland and was working as a receptionist at a dental office, having been unable to find work in marketing. Brad had left Seattle entirely, reportedly working for a small consulting firm in Phoenix under a different name. Their great love affair, which had seemed so passionate and inevitable, had lasted less than a year from start to finish, but the consequences would follow them for the rest of their lives. As for me, I kept my job, my assets, and my dignity. I'd proven that intelligence and patience could triumph over beauty and charm. Most importantly, I'd demonstrated that actions have consequences, even in an age where people thought they could curate their lives and control their narratives through social media. The data doesn't lie, and neither does the internet. Maren had wanted to be authentic and grateful for the man who provided her lifestyle. I'd simply made sure the whole world knew exactly how authentic and grateful she really was,